Hey everybody, it's Mr. Wilson, and today we're going to talk about your first pre-production sheet. Now at this point you should have already drawn your 8 shots and your additional 4 shots, so you should have an idea of how to frame shots, when to use them. You should have watched the ES-UES video so you understand the basic formula for a scene of dialogue. Now we're going to go on and start to actually think about a video that we might make, and the first thing we need to do is think about pre-production. The first step of pre-production was actually brainstorming and then filling out our pre-production sheet. So you read along as I read aloud. Brainstorming, script writing, and storyboarding are the 3 main pieces to pre-production. That is the work done before the actual taping of material. Without clear, organized, and successful pre-production, there is little chance for success in a production. Now, that means that if you just go out with a group and you've done minimal pre-production, you've just, hey, I have an idea, give me a video camera, this is what we're going to do, that's going to almost always result in poor video. You need to do a whole bunch of steps in pre-production. As a matter of fact, when you look at our video production flowchart, the vast majority of the steps are all pre-production. You need to plan your video, and that's where it'll be successful or it won't be. As long as you plan it correctly and you know what you're doing, you will have a successful production. Back to the sheet. Everyone in a production group should contribute to the pre-production. Now you're going to be working in production groups. So normally you're going to be doing this as a group, but for this you're going to be working individually, and this sheet will explain that in just one second. But normally, everyone in a production group should contribute to the pre-production. The scriptwriter writes down the ideas of the group during brainstorming and writes down the script as the group composes it, and is in charge of the storyboard, though the scriptwriter does not have to draw the storyboard. The storyboard could be drawn by a different person, or the entire group could help in that process, but the scriptwriter is in charge of making sure that it gets done. But the entire group helps each step of the way. For your very first production, however, you will work on your own as an independent scriptwriter to produce a very short script and storyboard, the best of which will be produced. So what you're going to do is at the end of this process, you are going to have your own pre-production sheet, script, and storyboard that you will present to your group. Everyone in your group will also have a pre-production sheet, script, and storyboard, and in your group you will decide who has the best idea, or whose idea can become the best by adding more ideas and going with that one. If you don't have your idea selected, you could put it aside and maybe use it later, or perhaps just not use it at all. It's up to you and your group. Now you will be writing a script for an ad or PSA, which stands for Public Service Announcement, for your school. This will be only one scene long. A scene is one time, one place. 2 or 3 friends will meet, have a brief discussion about a problem, and exit. Each character will have at least 4 separate lines, not all together, and there will be at least 6 camera shots. These are the minimums. However, do not write a script that will run much longer than 1 minute and include only one scene. The first impulse of many students may be to grab a script and begin writing immediately. Do not do this. Skipping brainstorming results in weak material. First, you need to work out the entire scene from beginning to end, including asking some critical questions. First, the F.A.T.P, which stands for Form, Audience, Topic, Purpose. Now, the form, audience, topic, purpose is something you should be taking into account no matter when you have any kind of communication. If you're giving a speech, you need to think about, well, what kind of format is this going to be? What's the form? How long am I going to be talking? Will I have a presentation, like a PowerPoint or something? What form is the speech going to be? Who is your audience? Who are you talking to? That's really important. Are you talking to peers? Are you talking to people who are prospective employers? Are you talking to distinguished guests? Are you talking to a bunch of people from a different country who are wanting to know about America? This is important, your audience. The topic, what are you talking about? And the purpose, why are you talking? So you always need to think about the form, audience, topic, purpose, no matter what you're doing. Writing a letter, making a presentation, writing a speech, making a video. You always should be thinking about what's my form, audience, topic, purpose. So the form here will be a short video ad or PSA. The audience will be your classmates and teacher. Important to keep in mind because you want to persuade and entertain them. The topic is whatever you choose to advertise or promote. Your friends must discuss a conflict or problem. The conflict here is simply whatever problem the friends discuss. The purpose is to persuade while also entertain. The F.A.T.P should always be taken into account during brainstorming. But I've just done that for you. So now that I've done that step for you, complete your first pre-production sheet. Look at the example pre-production sheet to give you an idea of what is expected in each section. Take your time with this. Don't simply write the first idea that comes to your mind. Try to come up with a persuasive and entertaining idea. Okay, so here I am in Mr. Wilson's class, and here's a pre-production sheet. Now what I'm going to do is, for this assignment, I'm going to click Open up here. And it's going to give me the same thing. I can read it again, and it's going to give me this pre-production sheet. I'm going to click on that. Now I'm going to make a copy. And I'm going to, this is what you're going to do as well, put your last name where it says copy of pre-production sheet. I'm going to delete copy of. I'm going to put Wilson Z, which is what you're going to do, last name, first initial, and then pre-production sheet number 1. Then I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to have my own pre-production sheet here, and I can close this pre-production sheet, which was view only, so I couldn't edit it. So I made a copy. Now I can see Wilson Z pre-production sheet number 1. That's the title of it. Awesome. Now I go in here and I start to type. But before we do that, I'm going to go over the 7 things we need to answer and provide information on. First, the topic and conflict. What is this an ad PSA for, and what will the problem be that's driving the story? For example, you can make an ad about going to see the school play, and the problem driving the story is, for example, maybe John is bored and doesn't have anything to do. The characters, the people in your video, making them distinctive and not just an average student will help reaching your purpose to entertain. Give them exaggerated characteristics. Make them real characters, not just student 1 and student 2. So you will give them names and you'll give them characteristics here. Storyline, what happens in the video? Just basically a quick storyline of what's going on. Dialogue, what is said? Think of some lines of dialogue, write them here without worrying about format. So you don't need to worry about format here. All you need to do is get out all of your ideas. So when you actually write your script, then you can concentrate on your format because everything else is taken care of. Your idea, your characters, your story, your dialogue. Don't worry about formatting here for now. The message, what is the audience supposed to get from this video? What is the message you're sending to your audience? And the persuasion, how is the audience getting this message? How are you transferring this message that you want to get to your audience? Attention grabbers. What's going to set this video apart from just boring ad? For example, of a school store video where Bob and John sit at a locker going, oh man, what's wrong? I don't have a pencil. You should go to the school store. School store, what's that? It's a cool place where you can get school supplies. Okay, let's go. Great. The end. No, we don't want that. That's boring. How are you going to make yours a little bit different and more exciting and more persuasive and more entertaining? Shot list. What camera shots and angles will you use? What will you use for your establishing shot, your lines of dialogue? Any other shots like inserts, cutaways, POVs, OTSs, reaction shots, high or low angle shots, or camera movements should be listed here along with when you will use them. Now don't get upset and freaked out if you don't know what any of that means. That's okay. If you are brand new at this, all you need to do is write what you're going to use for your establishing shot and what will you use for your lines of dialogue. We should all know at this point that almost always we will use medium close-ups for our lines of dialogue, right? ESCUES, medium close-ups. And we should all know also for our establishing shot, we'll use either a long shot, a full-length shot, a knee shot, or a waist shot. Anything closer probably isn't long enough for an establishing shot. So for this, I'm going to say I will use a waist shot for my establishing shot, I will use medium close-ups for all my lines of dialogue, and that's it. That's all you have to write. If you know what you're doing and you know about this other stuff, then you can add it to make it a little bit more interesting. You will eventually have to have insert shots, reaction shots, etc. But for now, don't worry about that. Now I'm going to fill this out real quick and we'll come back and take a look at what I've done. Okay, so here are my ideas. The topic and conflict. This is going to be an ad for the school store. Basic. Joe doesn't have his school supplies. Basic. Don't be afraid to have something basic. Join an after-school activity. That's the ad PSA. Join the games club. What's the problem? Bob is bored after school. Fine. That's your topic and conflict. That's just the basics. Now, the characters. Again, you want to have characteristics and names. Joe is a disorganized and confused student. Bob is an organized and slightly arrogant student. That will give me a little bit of a way to play with the characters, hopefully to make it more humorous or entertaining or persuasive. Storyline. Joe is at the locker and Bob appears out of nowhere. Joe is upset because he doesn't have a pencil and also because Bob has a cool ring that makes him invisible and makes Joe jealous. Bob tells Joe he can get both of these things at the school store. Okay, that's it. That's my one scene. Because remember, Mr. Wilson does not want more than one scene for this first production that you make. From after this, we can have more than one scene, no problem. But for this assignment, where you're going to be turning in your script and storyboard each individually, I want one scene. So there's my one scene. Joe's at the locker. Bob appears out of nowhere. Shoop. Oh my gosh, where'd you come from? I don't have my pencil. Go to the school store. You can get this cool ring and a pencil. End of scene. Okay, but if you want to have some additional ideas for your group because you have a really good idea and you want to expand on your idea with your group, that's great. And so I put in some additional ideas for me. You don't have to do this. You only have to have one scene. Bob grabs Joe's hand saying, "Let's go." They both disappear. Cut to the school store where they both appear out of nowhere. Joe buys a pencil, is happy that he won't get in trouble for not having his supplies, but is disappointed because they're out of magic rings. There's a fast disclaimer at the end saying, "No magic rings are sold at the school store." The dialogue. This is what's said. We're going to think of some lines, write them here without worrying about format. Remember, they're at their locker. Joe, "God, oh no, not again." Bob, appearing from nowhere, "What's wrong this time, Joe?" Joe, "Ah, you scared the bejesus out of me. Where did you come from?" Bob, "Oh, I was here all along. I was just invisible. Check out my cool invisibility ring." Turns invisible again. Joe, "Wow, where did you get that cool thing?" Bob, "The school store," which I think will also be the answer to your problem, which is? Joe, "Oh, I don't have a pencil, and Mr. Smith has already warned me 3 times about my supplies." Bob, "Yep, the school store, doofus. Go there for all your school supply needs. Plus, they sell cool invisibility rings." Voiceover. Invisibility rings not available as they do not exist. Okay, so there's my scene. One scene, that's it. But additional optional scene, I'm writing some additional dialogue just for that. So, Bob, "Let's go." Grab Joe's hands and they both vanish. They cut to in front of the school store where they both appear. Joe, "Whoa, that was so cool." Bob, to school store employee. Typo, I put story, no problem. There's a pre-production sheet. If you've got a little typo like this, not a big deal. Lots of typos would be. "Greetings, my good man. Do you happen to have any pencils, perchance?" Employee, "Why, of course, sir, and only a nickel apiece." Bob, "Here you go, Captain, a dime for 2. Employee, "Certainly, sir. Here are your 2 shiny brand new pencils, all sharpened and ready to go." Joe, "Awesome, now I won't get in trouble. Could I also have an invisibility ring?" Employee, "Alas, we have sold out. They have proven to be extremely popular. Who would have thought?" Joe, "Don't!" End. That's 2 scenes. I'm only going to script and storyboard 1 for Mr. Wilson's assignment. I added that additional optional scene because I wanted to show my group that this is a really good idea. I really want to do my idea. Some of you will say, "I really want to do my idea." And if you do, excellent. If your group says, "No, we're going to do something else," you can't have a temper tantrum because we're not little children. We're growing up, right? So don't get too upset. Maybe you can come back to it. If you have a production that you don't want to have made, your group probably won't pick it because it's not good. Or they will maybe improve it and then decide to do it. Either way, it's not really up to you whether you make this or not. It's up to your group. Okay, so my message. My message is the school store is a cool place where supplies are easily available. That's my message. Cool place. You can get supplies. That's the message. Persuasion, how I convince my audience of that message. Well, Joe quickly and easily gets his supplies and feels happy. That's how I'm persuading them. Oh, look, so easy. Attention grabbers. What will set this video apart from the boring ad? Well, there's a cool effect of appearing and disappearing, the humor of the magic ring, and the disclaimer, which is also hopefully funny. If a huge crazy ring is available, we should use it as a note. Hopefully we can get something a little bit big and crazy. If not, well, that's okay. We don't have to. We should try. Also, hopefully the acting is going to give us some humor too. We'll get someone who can play Bob who's, "Greetings, my good man," and that kind of thing. So hopefully also your talent, we're going to be able to act a little bit more than just like, hello, greetings, my good man. That's not going to help, right? Okay, shot list. Again, I will use a waist shot for my establishing shot. I will use medium close-ups for my lines of dialogue. That's all you have to write there if you're really worrying about, I don't really understand this right now. If you don't, first of all, you should actually see if you can ask me to make sure you do understand the concept of what kind of shots you'll use, because that's an important concept. But if you're not sure what to write there, that's all you need to. Your establishing shot and medium close-ups for lines of dialogue, that's all you need. I've written a little bit more. I will return to the waist shot for the magic appearing and disappearing of Bob. Now that's something we don't need to worry about. It's called a locked down shot. And if you want to get an idea of how that works, well, I'll show you by doing it now, because I have not a magic ring, but a magic watch. So I will disappear. Ready? Whoa! Whew! So you don't worry about that. It's called a lockdown shot, and we can teach you how to do it if you want to do it. Anyway, I will use an extreme close-up for Joe's reaction when Bob suddenly appears. Whoa! I will also have an insert shot of the invisibility ring and the brand new pencils. Now, as I go, I will be improving this. I will hopefully maybe come up with more shots to use, maybe more lines of dialogue to use, maybe other things to make it more entertaining, more persuasive, funnier, etc. This is just the basic idea. And for this idea, you don't have to come up with the greatest idea. This is just getting your idea out. In the future, again, you want your ideas to be good. For this, don't worry about it. If you're struggling, just get your idea out. Doesn't matter. It's the games club, because Bob's bored. They have this basic conversation. It's pretty boring. It's not a great idea. Fine. As long as you have an idea that you can script and storyboard, that's the assignment, okay? Later, your videos will be graded whether they're persuasive and entertaining. But for this, I'm just making sure that you understand how to do it, how to format your script, how to format your storyboard, etc. So don't get hung up on this isn't a good idea. Just do it, okay? Try to come up with a good idea, but if you can't, just do it. Okay, so now I have created my pre-production sheet, and I'm going to go back to my class. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to Add. I'm going to go to my Google Drive, and I'm going to go to Wilson Z Pre-Production. Then I'm going to click Turn In. One attachment will be turned in. Turn in. Yay, I am done. I want to make sure I see that done. And in addition, if you need to unsubmit, there's a button. You can unsubmit and resubmit if there's a problem. I might ask you to unsubmit and resubmit if there's a problem. As a matter of fact, don't unsubmit unless I've told you to or you've asked me, because that would be a problem with grading. I don't know exactly what I'm grading. So make sure that if you do click on submit, you tell me that you've unsubmitted and you're submitting something new. Otherwise, don't click on submit. I might tell you to also. So that's how you do your pre-production sheet. It's a bit lengthy, but hopefully after this you'll know how to do it from now on. You won't have to watch this video anymore. Everyone in your group is going to contribute to your ideas, and it'll be a little bit easier for your brainstorming, because brainstorming is easier when you have people to bounce ideas off of. So good luck filling out your pre-production sheet.